Caitlin Clark and the Hawkeyes needed a big comeback to claim their Big Ten Tournament championship over Nebraska, and something happened this weekend I've never seen before in sports. I'll have it all for you right here on Locked On Big Ten.
You are Locked On Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Sheeman. Coming up on 40 years as a sports talk show host and play-by-play announcer. Thank you for making us your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. Well, the Caitlin coronation, she did it again. Plus, we'll talk a little bit more about some news going on in the Big Ten you need to know and our Big Ten top 10 observations. And part of this is something I've never seen before, so I'll share that with you. Hang on for all of that. And in the meantime, if you don't mind, we are quickly approaching 7,000 subscribers. Maybe you could be number 7,000. Subscribe. It's free. And follow Locked On Big Ten wherever you get your podcast. That way you get the latest episode of this podcast as soon as it becomes available each and every day. So Caitlin Clark and the Iowa Hawkeyes, they had to dig deep and earn their third straight Big Ten Tournament championship. You know, they trailed most of the day against Nebraska. Good effort by Nebraska, by the way. And in fact, the Hawkeyes had trailed by 8 with just 2.5 minutes to go. Nebraska was thinking, hey, man, they had a championship. But when you have Caitlin Clark and you're surrounded by a veteran team like the Iowa Hawkeyes are, anything is possible. It's a veteran team. They know what they're doing. They've been in a lot of situations. We discussed this a little bit going on the week. There was one situation that maybe they haven't faced a lot this year, but they took care of that on Sunday. I'll catch you up with that. So they caught up. They forced the game into overtime, and they won 94-89. And that is Iowa's third straight Big Ten Tournament championship title, three-peat, if you will. And I think they're locking down a probable number 1 seed in the women's NCAA tournament. I don't think I'm really going out on a limb by saying that, or anybody else who says that as well. But it's been a phenomenal ride so far this season and for the career, really, for Caitlin Clark and the Iowa Hawkeyes. You know, though, this game on Sunday, she missed her first 9 3-pointers. She did finish with 34 points, 12 assists, 7 rebounds, and 3 steals. So, yeah, she shook it off and bounced back in the second half. The Hawkeyes record stands at 29-4. And if they land the number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament, it'll be the first time since 1992 they've done that, and the third time in program history. But head coach Lisa Bluter said, look, after the game, whether they're a 1 seed, 2 seed, 3 seed, 4 seed, it doesn't matter. They're going to play the same every single game. Last year's Hawkeyes team, by the way, entered the tournament as a number 2 seed, and they made it to the Final Four, and then the championship game against LSU, which it came up a little short. So Sunday's performance wasn't just a Caitlin Clark solo show, although she certainly did her thing. Sophomore Hannah Stuelke poured in 25 points and hauled in 9 rebounds. Kate Martin and Gabby Marshall combined for 19. Sydney Affolter chipped in 9 points and 11 rebounds as well on the way to the championship. So what I'm trying to say here is the Hawkeyes have one of the most balanced attacks of anybody in college basketball. Although Caitlin Clark did get the tournament MVP for the third straight season, but it was not a gimme from the beginning, as we alluded to just a moment ago. You know, Iowa, they look pretty flat in the beginning of this basketball game. And look, everybody's tired by the time you get deep into a tournament, right? You've been playing every single day. But Nebraska, they looked a lot better in the first half of this game. But Iowa, they trailed by 11 at the half. And at the break, Caitlin Clark just had 4 points. That's it. As I mentioned, she was 0 for 9 from 3 land. That's the most missed 3-point shots before making her first shot in a game in her entire career. That was just the worst shooting slump she's ever started a game with. But she did get things dialed in from that point. Second half, hit 5 out of her 8 3-pointers. And look, Nebraska proved to be a formidable foe. They just couldn't close this one on Sunday. I think they match up very well with Iowa, as we highlighted here on Locked On Big Ten last week, as the Huskers were one of the few teams that have beaten Iowa at some point during this season. They won their last meeting in Lincoln against Iowa, 82-79 back in February. So they can do it. They knew they can do it. They went into this game confident. Of course, earlier in the tournament, Ohio State was the big surprise. They got bounced out. Nebraska ends up filling the void and taking on Iowa. And they went in there thinking they could win that game. And for the most part, they looked like they were going to be honest with you. But the Huskers' second Big Ten tournament championship, their title will have to wait. It was not meant to be. And unless these two teams meet again in the NCAA tournament, this will be the final time that Clark will face this team that she's basically owned over the years. In 10 career games against Nebraska, Clark and the Hawkeyes have won 9 of them. Clark scored 30 or more in all of them. She leaves the Big Ten as the Big Ten tournament's all-time career leader in scoring with 327 points and assists with 112. That body of work was over 13 games. This game also answered another question we posed last week. I alluded to this at the beginning of the podcast, but we mentioned this a little bit last week on Locked On Big Ten. In fact, if you want to go back and check out all of our previous podcasts, they're all on our website. You see the crawl on the bottom if you watch it on video, talkbig1010.com. Go there. They're all archived right there. But we wondered for a moment how Iowa would respond in a close game. And you're like, what do you mean, man? They're awesome. They've been in all sorts of situations. Well, this year, if you've watched Iowa women's basketball, most of their wins were pretty comfortable by pretty big margins. And so we looked at a couple of the tight games that they had. They had a tight game with Nebraska, as we alluded to, and they lost it. They had a tight game with Ohio State at Ohio State, and they lost it. There were court stormings in both of those games from the fans. There was a big event, but a couple of losses. All right, so to face adversity, not only it wasn't a close game, they were getting beat pretty soundly here on Sunday and close the gap, get the game into overtime. They were down 8 with 2.5 minutes to go. A lot of teams would have lost that game, and they didn't. They found a way to win. So they answered that part of the adversity. They haven't faced that very much this season at all. So with that moving forward and waiting for the NCAA tournament, and of course the men now in the Big Ten play their Big Ten tournament this week. Both the men and the women will have to wait until Sunday, March 17th, for the NCAA tournament selection shows. The women's show is at 8 o'clock Eastern on ESPN, and the field, just like the men's, 68. The women's first 4 games, which Iowa won't have to worry about, they start on Wednesday and Thursday, March 20th and 21st. And the first and second round games will be on Friday, March 22nd through Monday, March 25th. The women's Sweet 16 and Elite 8 are March 29th through April 1st. And of course, the women's Final 4 games are Friday, April 5th in Cleveland, Ohio. Then the national championship is there on Sunday night, April 7th. So there you have it. There's the schedule. That's how it lays out. Iowa figures to be in the mix pretty deep into this thing, if not all the way. So, again, coming through a little bit of adversity on Sunday against a Nebraska team that matched up very well. And by the way, this Nebraska team is a very good basketball team too. Iowa's had some pretty big fish to fry all season long. There was the scoring marks by Caitlin Clark. There's the Big Ten championship. And now they look to make a run into the NCAA championship again. So take your thoughts on it. Hawkeye fans, let's hear it from you. Hit me up on Twitter and X at TalkBig10 and also on TalkBig1010.com. We would love to hear from you there. And comments on YouTube are always welcome as well. So that's fantastic. Love to hear from you on all that. We got a lot to get to still here. There was something that happened this weekend that I don't think I've ever seen before in sports. I'll share it with you. It was in men's basketball with the Big Ten. So all that is coming up in just a minute right here on Locked On Big Ten. I want to tell you about Fire TV. It's your destination for sports, from live games to highlights to in-depth analysis. Fire TV offers amazing viewing experiences with smart TVs, as well as the Fire TV stick that you can just plug into your existing TV that provides access to millions of movies and TV episodes, as well as free and live TV. And whether it's opening weekend of baseball, college basketball, you're going to want Fire TV. Okay. And here's another deal. Pretty excited about it. Fire TV recently created Fire TV channels to deliver a constant supply of the latest videos from your favorite sports brands for free. And that includes Locked On Big Ten. All the Locked On products over there. So you can check that out. So they have that covering the pro leagues, college conferences, everything is there. Fire TV channels lets you dive into the game analysis, highlights, and more to keep up to date on all the latest in the world of sports, March Madness, NBA, MLB, lots more. Check it out. In fact, you can check out the Fire TV channels and Fire TV and Alexa devices. If you haven't, check out Fire TV on their website. You can go through Amazon.com. Okay. Amazon.com/locked on Fire TV. Once again, that is Amazon.com/locked on Fire TV. And if you want to go to games, check out Game Time. This is fantastic. If you're the guy in charge of tickets for your group to anything, especially the games, if you want to go to some of these games in the month of March, check out Game Time and download the Game Time app. They've got last-minute tickets, flash deals, zone deals, easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event in your area. That's not just sports, comedy shows, music shows, concerts, everything there on Game Time. So check it out. They got all the all-in prices, show you the total up front right away, so you know what your total is. You can buy tickets, just a couple of taps on your phone. You get the view of the seat on your phone. It is fantastic. It takes all the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code Locked On, LOCKEDON, for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. I want to thank everybody for making Locked On Big Ten your first listen each and every day. You everydayers out there, make us go. We always appreciate it. Meanwhile, be sure to subscribe. Get us over 7,000. We're this close. We're this close. Started with like 1,200 when we took over this channel in the summertime. And we're booming thanks to you guys out there. So subscribe on YouTube. It's free, or share and follow and like Locked On Big Ten wherever you catch this podcast. Locked On Big Ten, your team every day. And then don't forget our website, talkbig1010.com as well. All right, so in Purdue's men's basketball, in Purdue's 78-70 season finale at Mackey Arena, something took place that I've never seen before. And I want to see if you have as well. The Boilermakers, Zach Edey, they retired his number 15 jersey right there while he's still wearing the jersey. They hung the number up in the rafters. I find that amazing. I've never seen a guy there play a game and have a jersey retired right after the game while he's still wearing it. Usually, as you know, a great player will come back and be honored with a lot of fanfare and a ceremony, usually many years after that player's career is over. But the Boilermakers retired it as soon as Edey's final home game was over. Part of the senior day festivities at West Lafayette. Much deserved, don't get me wrong. Greatest Purdue basketball player I've ever seen. But that was fast. Retiring the number right away. Look, he's the first Big Ten player to score 2,200 points and 1,200 rebounds, both in a career. The Boilermakers will be a top seed at the Big Ten tournament this week. And I think no matter what happens at the Big Ten tournament, they're going to be a lock to be a number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. You agree or disagree? I mean, really, they've had a phenomenal season. They'll be the number 1 seed. Just got to get deep into the tournament this year. We did a podcast on that last week. Check it out. Go check it out on Locked On Big Ten. Purdue, they gotta win in the postseason now. They're like the all regular season team the last 3 years. Got to do something here in March. Meanwhile, on the downside of sports, let's talk about this for a second. Michigan basketball is in the midst of its worst season ever. This weekend's loss to Nebraska was loss number 23, which surpasses the previous school record for futility at 22. Keep in mind, Michigan, barring a miracle, is not going to win the Big Ten tournament. So loss number 24 is coming. And with Michigan out of the picture for both the NCAA tournament and the NIT, of course, it will be the first time since 2010 the Wolverines have been absent from any postseason action like that. While a lot of Michigan fans expect or even want Juwan Howard to be out as basketball coach, there are stories indicating that Juwan Howard will be back next season. Does that surprise you? That surprises me just a little bit. Look, it's hard to believe. And we got a policy here. I have a policy on the air, whether it be a talk show host, podcaster here. I don't ever root for anybody to ever lose a job. I hope everybody always keep their jobs, but it's part of the business. Guys are going to get fired all the time. And so we never root for any downfall like that. But we will point it out if we think it's happening or might happen. And Ward Manuel, the athletic director, doesn't seem to be in any hurry to make any changes for Michigan basketball. I'm hearing more and more stories that Juwan Howard's going to be back. Maybe they kind of give him one last year because he had the open heart surgery in September, kind of missed the first half of the season before he was really getting into it. I don't know. You be the judge. Michigan fans as well. We'll see what happens with that. Speaking of Michigan fans, going into the weekend, Michigan running back coach Mike Hart, probably one of the most beloved assistant coaches on the staff, he will not return in 2024 for the Wolverines due to personal reasons. I don't know what that is. I don't know what's going on. Hart was once a star running back for the Michigan Wolverines back in the day, and during his 3 seasons as running backs coach, Michigan only lost 3 games, only 1 in the regular season. And he's been all part of that Harbaugh staff that has had so much success. And this team, year in and year out, boasts some of the best running backs and running back attack in the country year in and year out. He was a great recruiter, and there is no doubt that this departure will be a loss in Ann Arbor coming up this season. You Michigan fans love to hear from you. I've seen some suggestions maybe for somebody to replace him, but we'll find out that soon enough. Hey, Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. It's called Locked On Sports Today. And it's here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering the league, including yours truly. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe there for the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. Of course, first, feel free to subscribe here to Locked On Big Ten and hang around for another episode of Locked On Big Ten as soon as this one is over with as well. Coming up, what we like to do, coming out of a weekend, I always like to list the Big Ten top 10 observations by me, things that happened in the Big Ten. So we will have that for you coming up in 1 minute right here on Locked On Big Ten. When you're hiring for small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for their role. And I've had to do this before, whether, small office means you got to stop everything you're doing and you got to solicit people and resumes, and they schedule interviews and second interviews, and it takes a lot of time. Meanwhile, you're not getting your own job done, right? That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. It's not just another job board out there. LinkedIn has a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which makes it the best place to hire. Gives you access to professionals you can't find anywhere else. LinkedIn does all that while making the process very easy and intuitive. So LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing a lot of hats and might not have time or the resources to hire somebody. So they've got 2.5 million small businesses that use LinkedIn Jobs. You could be one of them as well. Here's what you need to do. You post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. YouTube.com/LockedOnCollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Okay, it's about time for our posting here for our Big Ten top 10 observations for the weekend. If you are audio only, I'm going to put them up on screen video and I'll explain them as best I can so you're not missing out. If you're on the audio only, it's great. However you get us, video or audio, we're just glad to have you. All right, these are some of my observations from over the weekend in the Big Ten, and put them on screen. And there we go, full screen. So I'm gonna start from the bottom and go up. All right. From number 10, Northwestern, their win over Minnesota, 90-66. Big win to close out the season. Brooks, Barnheiser, and Boo Buie, 23 points each in that game. At number 9, a shout out to Michigan State's Tyson Walker. He did score 30 points for the Spartans in the loss to the Hoosiers, a 1-point loss at Indiana on Sunday. Speaking of Indiana, Khalil Ware has been coming on gangbusters lately. He is looking more and more like an NBA player every day, so the Hoosiers will lose him early to the draft. 28 points and 12 rebounds, and the go-ahead free throw. The Hoosiers have won 4 in a row to get to 18-13. It just feels like it's a little too late, if you will, for the Hoosiers. We'll see what they do here in the Big Ten tournament. At number 7, we're going to put Nebraska Casey Tominga. This kid can shoot. He's a lot of fun to watch. You know I've been touting Nebraska all year long. They're going to be a team to watch here. Watch them in the Big Ten tournament. And then some. He scored 30 against Michigan, and because of that, Nebraska clinched a 3rd-place tie in the Big Ten, which more importantly means they're one of the top 4 teams clinching the double bye, get a couple days off in the Big Ten tournament. So that's fantastic for them. At number 6, I'm going to put Purdue's Zach Edey. As I mentioned just a moment ago, became the first ever Big Ten player to top 2,200 points and 1,200 rebounds. He finished all that off in their season finale win at Mackey Senior Day against Wisconsin. Got the dub. Wisconsin, pretty good effort, by the way, in the loss over there. At number 5, we're going to stick with the Purdue theme, the Purdue band playing "Oh Canada." If you don't know this, Zach Edey is from Toronto. And they busted off "Oh Canada" for him. Zach Edey says, I've been trying to get those guys to play that for 4 years. They finally did it on senior night. Cool moment for him as well. And then at number 4, as we mentioned, we did a few minutes on it just a few minutes ago, Zach Edey getting his jersey number retired. The number 15. Again, while he's still wearing the jersey, they're retiring the jersey. Usually, again, you come back years later and do that, but that's how they're going to do it in West Lafayette. And we're going to roll out the top 3 with a shout out to Iowa and their women's basketball team. They won the Big Ten title. Number 3, Hannah Stuelke, who, look, Caitlin Clark gets a lot of the headlines, and we talk about Caitlin Clark a lot. Hannah Stuelke is a sophomore. She's going to be the leader of this team when Caitlin Clark leaves. 25 points and 9 rebounds. Just a great effort by her. At number 2, Caitlin Clark, who, by the way, as we mentioned, started off 0 for 9 from 3 land and just 4 points in the first half. They were down by 11. She comes storming back against Nebraska. 34 points in the game, 12 assists, 7 rebounds, and 3 steals. Phenomenal. I almost want to say just another day for Caitlin Clark. I mean, she does average 32 points a game, and she does fill out the stat sheet. But there you have it. Great performance by her. And, of course, at number 1, the Iowa women with the comeback win, down by 11 at the half, down by 8 with a little more than 2.5 minutes to go in the Big Ten championship game against Nebraska. They come back. They force it into overtime. They win. Congratulations to them. And that is our Big Ten top 10. Did I miss anything? Let me know. Hit me up on the comments. Share it with me. And maybe we'll consider something for next week as well. So there we go. Our Big Ten top 10 over the weekend. In the meantime, we'd love to hear from you throughout the week. Don't forget on X or Twitter at Talk Big Ten number 10, the comments on YouTube as well. And then our website, talkbig10number10.com. All of our shows are there. They're archived chronologically. They're archived by team. If you're a Purdue fan or an Iowa fan, you can go click on Iowa and have all the podcasts we did on Iowa right there at your fingertips. In addition to getting some merch there if you want to, shirts, hats, pennants, it's all there. So check that out on our website, talkbig1010.com. Love to hear from you. In the meantime, if you haven't yet, please feel free to subscribe, click, boom, that's it. It's free, no other information. And then you're part of us here in our Big Ten family. And give us a shout out to your friends or family that you know are Big Ten alums or fans. Let them know about us, that we're out here. We're growing fast, and they can join on the bandwagon. Plenty of room for everybody here on Locked On Big Ten. Subscribe and follow this podcast right now on your favorite podcast app, and you'll get the latest episode of Locked On Big Ten as soon as it is available each and every day. Don't forget, Locked On has also launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube called Locked On Sports Today. After you watch a couple more episodes of Locked On Big Ten after this one, maybe check that out. Locked On Sports Today. That'll do it for us. We get ready for the men's basketball tournament, and always got an eye on football news with spring football here. It's going to be a busy, busy week. Thanks for joining us. Can't wait to talk to you again next time. For Locked On Big Ten, I'm Craig Sheeman.